Okay, and our next honoree, she is receiving our Legacy Award. And as you read her bio, and I'm going to read some to you in a moment, you will see why she's receiving our Legacy Award. She has quite a great background and great experiences. She's done a lot. And I learned so much by reading. I thought I knew Dr. Willa Cofield, and I read that bio, and oh my goodness, I was blown away. I love history and stuff, so that all these bios are just so fantastic with everything. I don't know how anyone has time to work, because we're all volunteering and doing good stuff for folks, so which is great. Let's bring Dr. Willa Cofield, please. Give her a round of applause. And her daughter, my school chum, Tanya. Woohoo! Because you'll see Tanya's name in the bio as well. Okay, do you do, please, lady?
This is presented to you from the City of Plainfield, City Council, for the praises and congratulations on your legacy, community.
Yes. Amen.
Before you take the picture, Dr. Cofield and I go back way back. She actually and former Mayor Taylor were colleagues together at Livingston College at Rutgers University. And Dr. Cofield comes from quite a, I'm going to say it, she comes from a very famous family in her town where she comes from. Her family's well known. If you go to Enfield, and you would never know she comes from such an elite background, because when she came to Jersey, and I met her when my husband and her were students together, and revolutionary people together. This lady is an activist from way back, and continues to be an activist, even in this season in her life when most people would just sit down, like I like to do. She is still out there on the field for our people. The Black Women's History Conference is another place and entity that Dr. Cofield and my friend and my mentor, both Dr. Cofield and Dr. Kathy were my mentors as well. But I'm just going to say, you have royalty in your presence. Dr. Cofield is a very humble person, but she walks with a big stick. Not because of what she says, it's because of what she does. And I know by the presence of the Black Women's History Conference people that are here that the work is still continuing, and I have been a recipient of their good work and had an opportunity when they came to Plainfield High School, and we hosted them when I was vice principal there some years ago. But I want you to know this is a great selection, Dr. Cofield, and she deserves it greatly. And you look to folk ahead of you to see, well, how do they deal with longevity? And she is that kind of an example of a legacy, not only in terms of what she does, but the fact that she's still here, and she's still moving, and she's still working, and serving. So that's the legacy for me. Keep moving and keep serving. So I want to thank you, Dr. Willa Cofield. Oh, look at me.
Also from Assemblyman Green, representing the 22nd Legislative District. And I join these ladies in saying that Dr. Cofield's life is a documentary. If you read her bio, and I'm going to read some. Willa Cofield is a retired educator who has devoted her life to community uplift and social justice. She now resides in Plainfield but cherishes deep roots in Enfield, North Carolina. As a result of her involvement in the 1960s struggle for civil rights in her hometown, Enfield school authorities fired her. Too bad for them. In a benchmark case, she successfully sued both the city and the county. Woohoo! Both boards of education, along with other officials in federal court. The National Education Association estimated that her case, get this, saved the jobs of 40,000 black teachers across the South. Okay? Okay, you hear what this doctor did? She said, take my job, I'll fix you. I'm getting 40,000 more. Okay, and then I mentioned her daughter Tanya up here because in 1964, Dr. Cofield's daughter Tanya, then only 6 years old, was one of the 6 courageous black children who integrated the all-white Enfield graded school. Okay? After Willa's firing, when no school would hire her, she moved to Durham and worked in the community organization arm of the North Carolina Fund and later the Low Income Housing Development Corporation. Both agencies sought to upgrade the social and economic status of the state's disadvantaged citizens. And I'm going to scoot down a little bit and say that currently, Dr. Cofield continues her lifelong love for teaching, community, and social justice through the work with Women in Conversation, this fine organization that's here with her tonight, and the People's Organization for Progress. See Mr. Steve Hatcher with POP that's here tonight. Thank you for joining us, all of you. And the Black Women's History Group right here in the center. Conference, excuse me. The Black Women's History Conference. So thank you all for being here. She's producing a second video documentary about the struggle against racism in Eastern North Carolina and writing a book with former high school students. I bring to you Dr. Willa Cofield.
I want to thank all of you for that very beautiful, that warm ovation. I am deeply, deeply touched. I have received other honors. But at this point in my life, this has so much deep meaning for me. As I said, I have received other honors, but many of the people who walked with me, who struggled with me, who worked with me, have not. Some of them went to their graves with no recognition that they had made any sacrifice, that they had done anything to help. So I want to focus on those people. I want to call the names of some of those people. I want to start with Tanya's father, whose name was Reed Johnson, who got things started in our community, who went to his grave with no recognition that he had done anything unusual. I want to have you hear the name of Tyler Vaughn, of Lily Cousins Smith, who also were leaders in our community. I want to call the name of some students, some brave, courageous students who walked through this town and tried to change things. Some of them were dragged by the police for blocks. They bear scars today that they got when they were jailed. I want to call the name of Cynthia Cousins Samuelson, of Mildred Bobbitt Sexton, of Yvonne Anderson Hughes. These were brave students. They were only 14 or 15 years old, but they stood up like adults and they faced authorities in a town that was so racist that you would not believe it. The symbol, and I am working with these students now, we are trying to come together to write so that we can leave some legacy, so that people will know about what happened in Enfield. And one of the students said, you know what we should call the book? We should call it the 9 o'clock whistle. Now, nobody who was not alive in Enfield at that time would know what that title means. But in this town, on Saturdays, black people would come into the town from the farms all around, and they would crowd the streets downtown. And so the town authorities decided that these people were there too long, they were too rowdy, and so at 9 o'clock on every Saturday night, a siren went off for about 5 minutes, and that meant black people go home. But there came the night when it was really a week after the March on Washington, and students had gone to Washington, and they came back to Enfield, and they decided, we are going to defy, we're going to picket. The town had passed an ordinance that said no one under 21 could picket. So the students said, we are going to defy that. And so they did. And they locked all of our protesters up. And people from around the surrounding area heard about what was happening in Enfield, and they crowded the streets. And it frightened the town authorities. So they blew the whistle, but nobody left. They blew the whistle again, and people sang freedom songs. And so finally, they brought the fire truck out with the hoses, as you saw if you were alive during that time, and they washed our people off the streets. So we want to remember those events and put them down so they will become a part of our history. Because if we don't do it, it will be forgotten. So I want to accept this award in the name of those students and those adults who so bravely challenged racism in Enfield, North Carolina. I also want to include people that I have known and worked with in New Jersey who walked the streets of Newark protesting police brutality and economic injustice, and who walked the streets of Plainfield protesting the closing of Muhlenberg Hospital. I want to remember, when it comes to community service, two people who were very dear to me. My son-in-law, Eric Watson, who gave his life to this community, and Dr. Shirley Cappy, who so recently left us to join the Ancestors. And finally, I salute my sisters in the Black Women's History Conference, who are building a strong new organization from the ashes of the old. And then, beyond them, I salute all of you who daily struggle to live honest, courageous lives, to keep families and households together, to give children, our children, love and support, to keep the skies from falling in our community. We who believe in freedom cannot rest.
Wow. That's Dr. Willa Cofield, everyone. Just a second. Doctor, there's a presentation for you. So Gordon.
This is This is from the Black Women's History Conference. We know how much Willa loves flowers, and we thought she might enjoy these.